After becoming the despised villain in a popular romance novel, I decided to take the give up and relax approach, mainly because my wife Victoria is the wealthy heiress of a powerful family. With her fortune at my disposal, I could spend as extravagantly as I wanted. To flaunt our wealth and style, we joined a celebrity couple travel reality show. While other couples busied themselves showing off their love on camera every day, I stayed in the hotel playing video games. As if that weren't enough, I even went as far as openly urging my wife to divorce me and split the assets during filming. Unexpectedly, our fake couple dynamic became a hit. Viewers started commenting, "This doesn't feel staged, their chemistry is addictive." I had transmigrated into the body of a notorious villain, a blacklisted, arrogant celebrity named Sincere, who had unrequitedly fallen for the second female lead, Victoria. Obsessed, Sincere relentlessly pursued her, even though her true love, the male lead Ethan, had married someone else. Feeling hopeless, Victoria impulsively married the original host, Sincere, out of spite. After their marriage, the male lead joined a couple's reality show. Out of sheer competitiveness, Sincere also signed up to participate. Throughout the show, Sincere tried to one-up Ethan in every way but ended up humiliating himself, becoming the perfect foil to highlight Ethan's happy marriage. Not only did viewers mock him mercilessly, but even Victoria grew to despise him. After the show ended, Victoria and Sincere quickly divorced, with Sincere extorting $1 million from her as a settlement. However, he squandered the money in no time and eventually died in misery. Unfortunately, I transmigrated into this mess right as the reality show began filming, and the cast was moving into their designated accommodations. Each couple was assigned a spacious suite with 2 bedrooms and a shared living area. Like before, Victoria and I slept in separate rooms. But to my surprise, when I woke up, I found myself in her bed. Victoria had just finished a shower, her body still damp and wrapped in a bathrobe. Well, looks like only the male lead gets to enjoy this view. Her hair was loosely tied up, with her bangs slightly covering her eyes, but it didn't hide her exasperated expression as she glared at me. "What are you doing?" she asked coldly, her tone distant. Embarrassed, I scrambled to get up. As I moved, a certain safety product fell out of my pocket. "Great. Just great." Her expression turned even more disdainful. "Sincere," she warned. "I've told you before, there's no love between us. Keeping our distance is for the best." I froze mid-action. Okay, while it was wrong of the original host to try any funny business, if you're so disinterested in him, why even join a couple's show together? So I nodded, but it didn't feel assertive enough, so I clapped my hands for emphasis. "You're absolutely right," I said with a grin. "In that case, why are we even here? Let's tell the production team we're quitting the show right now." My words left Victoria momentarily stunned. She furrowed her brows, scrutinizing me closely. "Ha! What's there to analyze? Standing before you now is the ultimate Sigma male, Sincere. All I want is to divorce, split the money, and enjoy an early retirement." Victoria narrowed her eyes, her gaze making my confidence waver, but I straightened up, stared her down, and after a brief standoff, she hesitated. "We still need to finish the show," she muttered reluctantly. I smirked. In the original novel, Victoria joined this show to see Ethan in person and observe whether his marriage was truly happy. Since she hadn't met him yet, there was no way she'd leave now. The power dynamic had shifted. She was at a disadvantage. I chuckled again and said, "Then you'd better put on a good performance." Slam. I closed the door and returned to my room, flopping onto the bed with a sense of satisfaction. The show would last half a month. Once filming wrapped up, I'd divorce Victoria, live off the settlement, and take it easy. What a sweet deal. I had no intention of building a better relationship with her. As long as I mastered the art of slacking off, 2 weeks would fly by. Chuckling to myself under the covers, I drifted into a pleasant daydream. The next day was a free activity day. I slept in until 11 a.m. By that point, other couples had already done everything in their live streams, working out, cooking, exploring the quaint town, while Ethan and his wife, Tessa, had stolen the spotlight with their romantic moment in the kitchen, where he fed her a bite of food. As an award-winning actor, Ethan's screen presence was impeccable. The livestream comments were overflowing with adoration. Ultimate husband material. Tessa's so lucky to have him. Can you believe this cuteness? They're perfect together. Meanwhile, the audience couldn't help but mock me. What's Sincere doing? Probably still in bed as usual. He's so lazy. How did this guy end up with someone as amazing as Victoria? Life isn't fair. Doesn't matter how many followers he has, no brand would dare work with him. Zero commercial value. I ignored the chatter, washed my face, and headed downstairs. In the kitchen, Ethan and Tessa were still playing out their perfect couple act. They'd turned slicing a cucumber into an opportunity for a loving gaze, or rinsing lettuce into a reason to hug. They had volunteered to cook lunch for everyone, but judging by their pace, we'd all starve before it was ready. "Ah, you're finally up," Ethan called out with fake familiarity when he spotted me. "Thought you might sleep through lunch." He laughed as if we were old friends. I rolled my eyes. No need to remind me, I'm already public enemy number one on the internet. I headed straight for the fridge to find something to eat. Ethan walked over with a sigh and said, "Don't you know what kind of days Victoria has been going through lately? You didn't get up this morning, and Victoria wasn't feeling well enough to make breakfast. I had to grab a sandwich from the fridge for her." His face was filled with concern as he continued, "You're married now. You can't keep acting so careless like you used to. You need to show some responsibility." The audience comments lit up with excitement at this scene. Wow, our actor king and heartthrob is truly such a caring man. Unlike my husband, who only ever tells me to drink hot water. And he's even reminding Sincere to be a responsible husband. What a sweetheart. Sincere doesn't deserve this. Anyone who's read the news about his diva behavior knows he's hopeless. Mark my words, they'll get divorced sooner or later. I'm just waiting to see it happen. I rolled my eyes. I opened the fridge, where sandwiches, drinks, and various ingredients were neatly arranged. I grabbed a sandwich and took a bite. Ethan, seeing I hadn't responded, looked regretful and said, "Do you think I'm meddling too much? I'm sorry. I just can't stand seeing her suffer without anyone taking care of her." A vein throbbed on my forehead, but I couldn't be bothered to play along with his theatrics on camera. I smiled faintly and said, "Yeah, you're definitely meddling too much. All this food was prepared by the production team. Do you really need to act like this? Anyone watching might think you made this sandwich yourself. Besides, Victoria is allergic to peanut butter. She can't eat this." Ethan's face turned pale. He licked his lips awkwardly and stammered, I meant well. Nothing wrong with that. Just like when I tried to cook for everyone on the show, it's the thought that counts, right? Even if it took 2 hours and we ended up eating out anyway." I chuckled. "Thanks for your good intentions, but don't bother preparing lunch for me." In the original storyline, Victoria had gone to the hospital to visit her sick nanny, Mrs. Zhang, and didn't come back until late. Meanwhile, the host had attended an event alone and became the target of online ridicule again. The audience comments were brutal. Marrying a rich, beautiful woman doesn't guarantee a life of success. Look at him, so pathetic, like a desperate puppy. Humble and pitiful. Exactly. He's the most humble, most pitiful man ever. But hey, even if he gets $1 billion in the divorce settlement, he's still just a lapdog. I stayed in the living room, playing video games. Victoria didn't come back all evening. I ordered takeout for myself and casually clicked on a recommended variety show video to watch while eating. Just my luck, right as Victoria walked in, wearing a sleek black dress that hugged her figure perfectly, exuding a mature and elegant charm. The video I was watching happened to mention her. The video said, "In conclusion, Victoria is the quintessential wealthy heiress, pure-hearted, with a wide range of interests. And just look at that figure, that face. Here are some of her most jaw-dropping photos." I froze. The volume wasn't loud, so she probably didn't hear it. Probably. Hopefully. Clearly, Victoria had excellent hearing. She walked over and sat down across from me. The video's host continued, "Victoria's only flaw is that she's married. But no worries, there are plenty of other beauties to admire. Let's move on to the next one." I fumbled to close the video, the atmosphere growing increasingly awkward. I buried my head in my food, pretending nothing had happened, but Victoria's gaze remained fixed on me. I coughed, trying to break the tension. "Don't get the wrong idea. I'm not interested in you anymore. I was just watching that video to scout for potential future partners. It has nothing to do with you." Victoria frowned slightly, her sharp eyes studying my every expression, as if trying to catch me in a lie. I met her gaze calmly, my face betraying nothing. These days, all I cared about was the divorce and the settlement. I wasn't even remotely tempted by her anymore. I stood up to clear away my food, trying to put some distance between us. Just as I was about to leave, Victoria suddenly said, "You've been acting a bit different lately." I nodded. "Haven't you heard the saying, a wise man adapts to the times? I've adapted." I've come to terms with my own limitations and won't bother you anymore." Victoria didn't respond, her eyes heavy as she continued to scrutinize me. I went back to my room, ready to scroll through my phone as usual. That same troublesome video popped up again, and I couldn't hold back. I left a comment. "Don't worry, she'll be back on the market soon. Pristine condition, barely used. First day on the resale app and already flying off the shelf." The first day of my carefree, hands-off approach ended just like that. The second day, jam-packed with activities, saw me doubling down on my indifference. The group was supposed to gather at 8 a.m., and while everyone else was busy preparing to head out, I strolled downstairs in an old t-shirt and flip-flops, yawning. Victoria and Tessa were tidying up the room, Ethan was helping carry bags, and Jack, the seasoned actor, was hauling equipment for the event. The moment I appeared, the audience comments started rolling in. "Who's this creepy old man? What an eyesore. Look at him doing absolutely nothing, just here to leech off the show for attention." I sat on the far end of the couch, as far away from Victoria as possible. To my surprise, she walked over and sat down beside me. I was speechless. Did she have some kind of performative personality? Not only that, but I could feel her gaze lingering on me throughout the day, as if she were observing me. Was she worried I'd stir up trouble on the show after hearing my declaration yesterday? Today's task was to hike up a mountain and have a picnic at the summit. I went straight to the production team and asked, "Do I really have to hike? Can I take the cable car instead?" The staff looked a bit surprised and replied, "Well, if that's the case. Our footage is too limited, the final cut might not be long enough. Don't worry. Am I the kind of person to fuss over screen time? I'm even willing to give away mine for free to everyone. But the producers won't allow it. They paid me to stir the pot. People love to hate me because my agency is incredibly skilled at creating buzz. I bear some resemblance to that, a list actor, so the company constantly buys stories to piggyback on his popularity. Even the movie we co-starred in followed this formula. He played the untouchable dream guy, and I played his stand-in. Chaos ensued, with endless drama between us. Naturally, the producers wouldn't want to let go of this kind of attention. Once you've signed the contract, you've got to play by the rules. Resigned, I joined the rest of the cast in the van. Jack, the veteran actor, had been given the host's script. He was responsible for guiding the flow of conversation and introducing topics. As the van rolled along, the group began sharing stories about the first time they felt sparks with their spouses. Jack and his wife had fallen in love on set, becoming the model couple of the entertainment industry. Ethan's story sounded like something out of a movie, how they brushed past each other at a business event, fell in love at first sight, and how much he adored and spoiled his wife. His tale even hinted at how dependent she was on him, drawing an outpouring of envy from the live chat. Ethan chuckled and said, "Enough about me, Sincere, what's your story? How did you and Victoria get together?" The history between Host and Victoria was infamous, messy, and embarrassing. In short, a classic case of unrequited love that ended in disaster. Host hadn't even gotten a kiss out of it. Ethan's question was clearly aimed at stirring the pot. I smirked and replied, "I chased after her, but now that I'm married, I sometimes feel being single was better." The van fell into a stunned silence. Everyone maintained their professional composure, though their expressions froze. No one picked up the thread of conversation. Jack was the first to break the awkwardness, laughing. "Aha, newlyweds always have little spats. When Chloe and I first got married, we'd argue and feel like divorcing every other day." But then Victoria lowered her head, her face flushing a deep red, and softly said, "Actually, I've liked Sincere since high school." I froze, utterly bewildered. Everyone else was just as shocked, their expressions mirroring mine. Turning to Victoria, I asked, "Did you eat that sandwich yesterday morning? Was it poisoned?" Chloe jumped in to smooth things over, laughing. "Ha ha ha, Sincere is completely stunned. Don't just sit there, go comfort your wife. A wife like her, if you don't cherish her, someone else will." The mood instantly lightened. Everyone teased us, attributing our supposed bickering to lingering tension from yesterday's events. Out of the camera's view, I shot Victoria a glare. To my surprise, she didn't get angry. Instead, her almond-shaped eyes fixated on me, unwavering, her lips pressed tightly together. She kept staring and staring until I couldn't take it anymore. I reached out, grabbed her chin, and turned her head to face the other direction. My fingers brushed against her soft skin, sending a tingle through my fingertips and raising goosebumps on my arm. Flustered, I turned to stare out the window, hoping to calm down. This entire exchange was broadcast live, and the chat exploded with comments. "I thought the rumors said these two had no chemistry? Did I misunderstand everything?" Did anyone else notice Victoria's love-struck gaze at Sincere? And then Sincere just turned her face away. Poor Victoria. What's going on? This is oddly sweet. Am I the one who got poisoned? The van arrived at the base of a scenic mountain. Normally, it would take about 2 hours to hike to the summit. The producers announced the rules. Along the trail, there were several photo stations where each couple had to take creative and romantic pictures. The couple whose photo received the most votes online would win a mystery prize. However, the first couple to reach the summit would get a luxurious picnic lunch, while the last would have to settle for bread. It seemed like a tough choice, but really, anyone with common sense would prioritize taking photos. It meant more screen time and a chance to gain fans with picturesque shots. A fancy meal was hardly a big deal. In showbiz, everyone was a pro at enduring hunger. Ethan wrapped an arm around his wife Tessa, gazing at her lovingly. "Let's recreate one of our wedding poses," he suggested. Their wedding photos had once trended online for an entire day, garnering widespread admiration for being picture perfect. Ethan then turned to us with a beaming smile. "What about you two? Any ideas? What ideas could we possibly have?" Host and Victoria had been married for half a year, living separately the entire time. There hadn't even been a wedding. I replied nonchalantly, "We've never taken wedding photos." Ethan gasped. "What? Sincere? Victoria's never worn a wedding dress? Don't you know how much that means to a woman?" "Sorry, maybe I'm overstepping. You might have different views." I forced a smile and glanced at Victoria. To my surprise, she winked at me instead of chiming in to support Ethan. Suspicious, my gaze flicked between the two of them. The live chat buzzed with activity again. Sincere always manages to create the most awkward moments. Does he not know how to read the room? This is a marriage reality show. The producers must be fuming. First, a flirt loses. But also, why do I feel like something's brewing between these two? It wasn't like Ethan intentionally poked at people's sore spots. Someone even commented, "Come on, the production team loves him. That's exactly what creates good show content." Look, the number of viewers in the live stream doubled in no time. To reach the summit, there were 3 different routes. Each team drew lots to determine their path, and once that was decided, everyone split up and went their separate ways. The previously bustling crowd quickly dispersed, leaving just me, Victoria, and 3 cameramen tailing us. More or less like being alone together. I didn't feel like talking to Victoria and was eager to reach the summit quickly for the big feast awaiting us. So I put my head down and charged ahead. The only thing that annoyed me was how Victoria kept interrupting my rhythm. She constantly needed me to pull her up or wait for her. At the first checkpoint we passed, I begrudgingly stopped to take a photo with Victoria. I said flatly, "Hurry up. When I say cheese, you say yeah." And just like that, a generic tourist photo was born. Strangely enough, as the camera clicked, I reflexively smiled, unable to help myself. After the shot, the photographer nodded in satisfaction and even remarked that we had good couple vibes. I was speechless. Totally unnecessary. The final checkpoint was a grove of cherry blossoms, their petals stretching endlessly into the horizon. It was early April, the weather perfect, and a gentle breeze sent the blossoms cascading like snow. Victoria, dressed in a white sundress, stood amidst the falling petals, her entire demeanor softening. The scene stirred something in me. A woman with a good appearance really could trick people, couldn't she? I walked over and stood beside Victoria, plastering on a fake smile as I slung an arm over her shoulder, planning to snap another casual photo. Victoria, however, wasn't having it. She scoffed, "You ran all the way over here from 10 feet away just to do this?" I was speechless. Was she giving me action direction now? Did she even know the nature of our relationship? I turned off the microphone clip to my waistband and gestured for Victoria to do the same. Once I confirmed that the production team couldn't hear us, I said, "Enough already. Stop acting. We didn't even know each other in high school." The truth was, the host and Victoria had first met on set. She had been a fangirl of Ethan and came to see him, while the host fell for her at first sight. Victoria pursed her lips in silence, her gaze toward me devoid of affection, instead carrying a hint of scrutiny. She spoke softly. "I'll add more money. Once we get divorced, I'll give you another $10 million. I was so excited I nearly lost my composure, blurting out, "It's not about the money. I just want to help you out here." Capturing a good photo while running required significant skill from the photographer. Fortunately, the crew members hired by the production team were all seasoned professionals from top-tier wedding companies, specializing in making fake couples look sweet. I ran back and forth several times, but the photographer still wasn't satisfied. $10 million. $10 million. Whether I could rest easy post-divorce depended on this moment. The photographer directed us, "Get closer, like hug each other. Don't stand so far apart." Reluctantly, I reached out and pulled Victoria toward me. She lost her balance and instinctively grabbed at my shirt for support. Then, I lowered my head and locked eyes with her. Her brows softened and a faint smile played on her lips. "Perfect, perfect," the photographer exclaimed. As soon as the photographer called it, Victoria blushed and pushed me away. I was speechless. Wasn't she the one begging for this shot earlier? She walked over to the photographer to check the photos, piquing my curiosity. I wanted to sneak a glance too, but Victoria pouted and urged me to leave. "Aren't you in a hurry to grab food?" she said. Fair enough. When we reached the summit, our team was indeed the first to arrive. I decided to strike up a conversation with Victoria, saying, "Hey, just so we're clear, whether or not the photos turn out good, you still have to pay me." Victoria shot me a look, and I felt a twinge of guilt. It was easy money after all. I added, "Fine, I'll give you a 0.1% discount." With that, I bolted toward the buffet table, ready to claim my feast. But to my dismay, it turned out to be raw seafood and other ingredients. I groaned. I was a disaster in the kitchen, only capable of creating culinary monstrosities. There was no way a pampered lady like Victoria could cook either. Jack's team got steak, Ethan was gnawing on bread, and me? I was stuck eating raw food. I grabbed some lettuce leaves and a drizzle of mayo, then invited Victoria over to share my salad. She rolled her eyes and said, "I can cook." I was stunned. Under my disbelieving gaze, the elegant Victoria tied up her hair and rolled up her sleeves. Her slender fingers moved deftly as she chopped ingredients with surprising skill. I couldn't be of any help, so I stood to the side, showering her with compliments. "Wow, those cuts are so precise." "Oh, that smells amazing. Hey, you're a natural." Before I could finish my third wow, Victoria glared at me and told me to stay out of her way. I was speechless. Still, I didn't hold a grudge and even fetched her a chair. When the other two teams arrived, they were greeted by a curious scene, me sprawled out on a lounge chair half asleep, while Victoria cooked. Jack smirked and said, "Sincere, your wife is incredible." I was about to correct him, but he paused and continued, "You're living the dream at home, aren't you?" I was speechless. I had only just discovered today that she could cook. According to the novel's plot, she never lifted a finger in the kitchen. Where did she even learn this skill? Everyone gathered around Victoria, except for one figure who approached me. He positioned himself to block the camera's view. It was Ethan. His face contorted with an expression I'd never seen before, one of suppressed resentment, as if he were the villain here. He didn't say a word, just glared at me with seething anger for a solid 10 seconds. I was utterly baffled. Based on his character arc, wasn't he supposed to be the male lead? Do you want Victoria or something? Why is there so much hostility toward a mere side character like me? Victoria's cooking was live streamed by the cameras, and the chat went wild. The comments poured in. With a wife like this, what more could a man want? I'm starving, already ordered takeout. Seafood fried rice ready to serve. I'm humbled by Victoria's cooking skills, not only delicious, but beautifully plated too. What's that old saying? To win a man's heart, start with his stomach. As my pretend wife, Victoria was actually not bad. After dinner, everyone played games and chatted. I noticed that after Victoria left the room, Ethan also found an excuse to leave. Suspicious. I quickly followed to eavesdrop. "Victoria, can I ask you for a favor?" Ethan said. "Huh?" Victoria responded. Wasn't Ethan supposed to be her ultimate crush? Why was his tone so formal? Unfortunately, I could only catch that one sentence. The rest was too muffled to hear clearly, though it seemed Ethan had a request. Victoria, however, shook her head coldly. Ethan looked distressed. Before they could notice me, I slipped away with this new discovery and returned to the villa. Before Victoria went back to her room, I couldn't help but ask, "What's going on between you and Ethan?" "What do you mean?" she replied. "I mean, I can tell Ethan has feelings for you. You two like each other, so why didn't you get married back then?" I asked. Her face turned frosty. I quickly tried to show my loyalty. "Don't worry, I understand the ethics of an ex-husband. I won't go around spilling secrets." Victoria scoffed. "Where did you get the idea that I liked him? Isn't this straight out of a novel plot? How could it be wrong?" I asked. "Everyone online says so. They say you're his fangirl. Why else would the Victoria Corporation go all out to support Ethan? It's not like your family would do that for anyone other than your idol." Victoria frowned. "Sincere, I've never lied." I was baffled. What do you mean? Suddenly a line popped into my head. I've liked Sincere since high school. Oh no. It seemed like the plot had taken a major turn, and as the time-traveling protagonist I was completely in the dark. What was I supposed to do now? Stick to the basics, stay calm and lie low. I went back to the living room and mindlessly scrolled through my phone, flipping between apps. Suddenly, I noticed that the show's official social media account had posted the photos taken that morning. Jack and Chloe's photos were pretty standard, typical couple poses, but their sweet, long-time married vibe shone through. Ethan and Tessa's photos were very aesthetic, one of them running hand in hand, another where he carried her in a princess hold. Then it was our turn. In the photo, I had my arm around Victoria's shoulder with a slight smile, while Victoria leaned toward me, tilting her head to look up at me. The photographer was too skilled. This wasn't just a candid shot, it was brimming with romantic tension. I swiped to the next photo, and the final image stunned me. Against a backdrop of falling cherry blossoms, I was running toward Victoria. The harsh sunlight made my silhouette partially transparent, while Victoria stood in the shadows. The interplay of light and dark, motion and stillness, this photo was a masterpiece. The chat exploded in excitement. This picture is dripping with vibes. The lonely girl finally met the boy who traveled back through time for her. I'm shipping it already. I long pressed the photo out of instinct. By the time I realized it, I had already saved it. Behind me, Jack chuckled knowingly. I saw that, he said. I was just admiring the photographer's skill, I stammered, totally saving it for artistic appreciation. Jack nodded, clearly unconvinced. I wanted to grab his arm and insist a million times that I was telling the truth. Just then, Victoria came downstairs, phone in hand. She was talking to someone. Do me a favor, okay? Just share it at the office, it'll only take a second. Jack waved at her. Your photos turned out great, but don't think you'll win that easily. We've got both of us campaigning for votes. Victoria blinked innocently. I've already started campaigning. The show's official account had tagged a newly registered account Victoria's made just an hour earlier. She had shared the post, adding a simple caption, "Vote for me." I was speechless. That wasn't campaigning, that was a command. But our photo's vote count skyrocketed. Among those sharing it were not just every branch of Victoria Corporation, but also several business moguls regularly featured in financial magazines. Jack laughed. What's going on? Feels like you're making an official announcement. I almost want to repost it for you. I was at a loss for words. Dragging Victoria to the corner, I covered my microphone and whispered, Are you crazy? With this kind of fanfare, how are we supposed to divorce later? She gave me a cold glance. Who said I'm getting divorced? What the hell? What about my $2 million? I grabbed Victoria to argue, while the fans in the chat continued to swoon. These two can't stop sneaking off for private chats. Is there anything my VIP access can't hear? Speak louder. As the votes climbed higher, the cutoff time arrived. To my shock, we'd actually won first place. The show's promised mystery reward hadn't arrived yet, but they hit us with a bombshell first camping tomorrow. I paced back and forth in front of Victoria's door, dreading the next day's agenda. Finally, I steeled myself and knocked. The door opened. Victoria had just showered and was standing there in nothing but a bathrobe. The key detail, her bathrobe, feeling quite at ease. My gaze involuntarily followed the slightly open neckline of her shirt. Wait, stop staring. I forced myself to look away, fixing my eyes on the ground. I said, You know about tomorrow's camping trip, right? The show has planned for us to spend the night in tents. Victoria nodded. Yeah. No other reaction. I asked, That's all you have to say? Do you even realize we'll be sharing a tent? Victoria rolled her eyes. Are you worried I'll do something to you? What kind of question was that? What kind of logic? Speechless, I retorted. I'm worried about me doing something. Victoria let out a soft, "Oh, I'm not worried," and then shut the door with a loud snap. What was with her sudden change in attitude? She used to be so reserved, so cautious about avoiding my gaze, as if I'd steal a glance at her. Never mind. If she's not worried, why should I be? The camping gear provided by the production team was top-notch, but we had to pitch our own tents and assemble our own tables. Thanks to our photo-winning first place yesterday, our team got priority in choosing equipment. Without hesitation, I picked the largest tent. For safety reasons, of course. The only problem? I had no idea how to set it up. While Jack's tent was already standing tall, mine was still sprawled on the ground like a defeated rug. Victoria walked over and asked, Having trouble? Should we ask Jack for help? I snapped, Trouble? Me? No way. To save face, I told her to go enjoy herself at the beach and not to distract me while I gathered my thoughts. Squatting alone, deep in thought, I was startled when Ethan walked up. Dark circles under his eyes hinted at a sleepless night. He asked, "You saw it yesterday, didn't you?" Confused, I replied, "Saw what?" "Don't play dumb. I know you saw it. You're laughing at me in your head, aren't you?" I was completely lost. Ethan gritted his teeth. "I just wanted Tessa to sign with the company. All I asked was for Victoria to put in a word with them. How hard could that be?" But she refused. She was never like this before. Everything changed the moment you showed up. I was baffled. "What does any of this have to do with me?" Ethan sneered. "Don't tell me you actually think Victoria likes you. We're all just stand-ins for someone else." As he spoke, he pulled out his phone and showed me a sketch he'd secretly taken. "This," he said, "is her white moonlight, the one she can't forget." The man in the sketch looked eerily familiar. Wait a second, wasn't that me? Or rather, the old me, before I ended up in this body. The resemblance was uncanny, though the man in the sketch was taller, probably over 6 feet. Seeing my stunned silence, Ethan smirked. "You're just a fake." I stood up, suddenly lightheaded. The world spun, and everything went black. When I came to, I felt like I'd hit my head. My mind was flooded with a jumble of unfamiliar memories. I saw myself in a school uniform, riding a bike with Victoria sitting behind me, weaving through streets and alleys. In those memories, Victoria looked younger, less polished than the concerned woman now hovering over me. "You okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. Her face gradually overlapped with the image in my head. Without thinking, I blurted out a strange name. "Vicky?" Victoria's body stiffened. "You remember?" I shook my head. "No, just the name. Everything else is fuzzy." But Victoria seemed overjoyed. She threw herself into my arms, burying her face in my chest. I said, "You're shaking." Her voice quivered. "Don't talk." "Okay," I said, pausing before adding, "just don't get my shirt all wet." She snapped, "I'm not crying." Or, "Shut up, it's just the sea air." The others began to gather around. Jack asked, "You okay, Sincere? They said you just collapsed out of nowhere." Even Ethan looked concerned. "Yeah, we were talking, and you just fainted. Scared the hell out of me." Victoria shot him a sharp glare, and Ethan wisely shut up. I tried to smooth things over. "I think it's just low blood sugar. No need to worry." Chloe teased, "Well, you sure gave Victoria a scare." Before we could even react, she was already rushing to your side. I instinctively tightened my grip on Victoria's hand. Jack chimed in, "Anyway, you should rest. I've already set up your tent for you." I nodded, muttering a quick thanks. Then it hit me, we'd be sharing that tent tonight. I dawdled until everyone else had gone to bed. Finally, with no excuses left, I returned to the tent. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Finally decided to show up? I thought you were going to bunk with Jack tonight." "I wish, but there are too many unanswered questions," I said, sitting at the foot of the bed. "We knew each other before, didn't we?" I asked. She nodded. "Yeah. But how? I just got here. How could I possibly know the high school version of you?" So she told me a story. When she was in 10th grade, word came from the nursing home that her grandfather's health was failing. Her parents couldn't make time, so Victoria volunteered to go, taking a leave of absence from school for half a semester. With private tutors covering her schoolwork, she headed to the nursing home. The road leading there was lined with cherry blossom trees, and during that season the petals were in full bloom. She always had to be careful of the falling blossoms as she passed. She didn't particularly like that road, until one day, a white canvas shoe suddenly fell from above, landing right in front of her. Startled, she looked up and saw a figure perched in the branches, partially obscured by the leaves. He was wearing a baggy blue school uniform, with his hair all messy and his big eyes curving into crescent moons as he gave a sheepish smile. The boy said, "Can you throw my shoe up to me?" Victoria obliged. She watched as the boy in the tree put on his shoes and nimbly climbed down. His school jacket looked oddly stuffed, and when he unzipped it, a soccer ball tumbled out. The boy tossed the ball over the neighborhood fence, and the sound of a group of kids cheering erupted from the other side. He smirked and said, "Little brats, if you kick it out again, I'm not fetching it for you." Then, casually running his fingers through his hair, he added, "I'm Sincere. Thanks for the help just now." And that was how Victoria met her first friend in South City. Sincere was always in high spirits, though he often said things that made no sense to her, like, "It's bad enough I ended up in the wrong time, but why high school? Of all places, the universe must hate me. And why did I have to end up in humanities? It's like a death sentence." Victoria assumed he was just stressed about bad grades and kindly offered to study together. But as they studied more, she realized she'd essentially become his personal problem-solving machine. While she was eager to learn alongside her friend, Sincere only wanted to read comics. "Just scrape by," Sincere said nonchalantly. "I'll only stick around for half a year anyway. Studying is pointless. And don't give me that look. I'm actually a brilliant STEM student, okay?" Victoria sighed. "Where are you planning to go?" she asked. Sincere scratched his head. "No idea. The system's glitched, so I'm stuck. According to the story, I should at least be sent back by the audition arc." Victoria's eyes sparkled with realization. "You're going to be a celebrity? But even celebrities need an education. When the time comes, come find me. My dad can enroll you in a performing arts prep course." "You know about this stuff?" Sincere asked. Victoria nodded. "My dad owns an entertainment company. If a friend needs help, I'd better start learning more about the industry myself." Sincere invited her over for dinner one day. "I'll make chicken stew for you, a proper feast," he said. Victoria believed him, but when she arrived, she was speechless. "This chicken, you're cooking the whole thing?" "Yeah," Sincere said matter-of-factly. "Don't worry about how it looks. Once it's cooked, it'll taste great." Victoria sighed again, realizing she might need to learn how to cook. One day, her grandfather became critically ill. Outside the hospital attached to the nursing home, Victoria stood gripping the hem of her skirt tightly, her fingers white from the pressure. Suddenly, Sincere appeared like the wind. "I skipped class to come be with you," he said. Victoria's parents were always busy with work, and she had grown up under the care of a driver and a nanny. She'd always thought being alone wasn't so bad. But now she realized how comforting it was to have someone by her side. When the doctor handed over the consent form for the surgery, she signed her name. Sincere, standing next to her, froze. "Your name is Victoria?" he asked in shock. "I thought you said your name was Vicky?" "That's the name Grandpa gave me," Victoria explained. "My parents didn't like it, so they changed it." But Sincere was still staring at her, visibly shaken. He muttered to himself, "Oh no, I actually became friends with the protagonist. I've accidentally altered the story. I can't play the role of the villainous supporting character anymore. If I can't leave this book, I might really die here." Snapping back to reality, Sincere reassured her, "Don't worry, your grandfather will be fine." He decided to let things unfold naturally and comforted his friend. "I need to tell you something that sounds completely ridiculous, but you have to believe me," he began. "I'm from the future. I know how the story goes." Sincere often said things Victoria didn't understand, but he never lied. She nodded, feeling a bit more at ease. Sure enough, a few hours later, the doctor announced that the surgery had been a success and that her grandfather would be transferred to intensive care for 24-hour monitoring. At the same time, Sincere received a long-overdue notification from the system. The timeline had been corrected, and he would leave the story the next day. Sincere hesitated for a moment but decided to tell Victoria the truth. After all, his body would soon be taken over by the system, and his future actions would align with the character of the foolish villain from the novel. The story couldn't deviate too much, or he might lose the chance to traverse worlds entirely. His fate now rested in Victoria's hands. "I need to tell you something wild, but please take me seriously," he said. "In the future, you'll fall in love with someone named Ethan." Victoria shook her head firmly. "I won't. You haven't even met him yet," Sincere replied. "The story says it'll be love at first sight. Anyway, don't interrupt. Listen. After that, I'll chase after you relentlessly and eventually marry you." "Why are you laughing? Be serious." Victoria furrowed her brows slightly. Her delicate features still carried a youthful purity, though her eyes were already bright and insightful. She nodded. "Got it. I'll make sure everything unfolds the way you said. But you have to come back soon." "No problem," Sincere assured her. "If all goes well, we'll meet again in 5 years." Victoria asked him one last question. "What did you originally look like?" "Pretty much the same, just not as tall," Sincere replied. That night, Victoria sat on a bench outside Sincere's apartment complex, under the glow of the street lamp, waiting. The next morning, she saw a familiar boy walk down the stairs and pass by her. It really wasn't him anymore. She stood up despondently and returned to the sanatorium. Passing that street lined with cherry blossom trees again, the petals had long since fallen, leaving the branches bare. Later, just as Sincere had once described, she met Ethan. Following the script he had outlined, she helped Ethan step by step, pleading with her father to get him into a film crew. The only deviation from the storyline was that Ethan confessed his love to her in front of everyone. However, she coldly rejected him. Shocked, Ethan stared at her and asked, "How could this be? How could you not like me?" Victoria had her bodyguards escort him out, saying, "Don't let him near me again. Otherwise, you can find another job." Sincere rose to fame, but the boy she had been waiting for still hadn't appeared. "You said we'd meet in 5 years. It's been 8, Sincere." "You liar," she muttered. For the final episode of the show, the production team changed the format. A new set of guest stars were brought in, and a group was selected to accompany Victoria and me to a southern city, to the place she claimed we first met. The theme for the episode was the heart's first flutter. Impressively, the production team had even prepared a set of school uniforms for us. When I saw Victoria in the uniform, I was stunned. She looked beautiful, almost identical to the girl in my dreams. Blushing, she said, "Do I look too childish in this?" I grinned and replied, "Not at all. You look just like in my dreams." She frowned and teased, "You're having proper dreams, right? Nothing inappropriate, I hope." I was speechless. Meanwhile, the live stream comments were full of amusement. Someone wrote, "What kind of dream? Please elaborate." Another commented, "Don't skip any details, I've got all day." Victoria sat on the back seat of my bicycle, insisting I take her to the places we used to visit, saying it might help me recover my memories. I warned her, "Just don't make things up. Don't accuse me of things I didn't do to tarnish my image." She snorted twice in response. We visited the cherry blossom tree where we first met, the corridor where we used to do homework, and finally, the cemetery where her grandfather was buried. Standing before his grave, Victoria leaned into my arms, silent and unmoving. We stood there together for a long time. Before leaving, I told her, "I need a moment alone with him, don't eavesdrop." I made sure Victoria walked 10 meters away before turning to the photo of the kindly old man. Bowing deeply, I said, "I'm sorry for making your granddaughter wait so long. Don't worry, I'll always be by her side to tease her from now on." After this couple's reality show aired, Victoria and I became the most popular pair on the program. Our names were constantly trending on social media, and countless new shows lined up to send me invitations. But I declined all of them. I had already wasted too much time that could have been spent with Victoria. Work wasn't worth disrupting our life together. One day Victoria asked me, "Can we have a proper wedding ceremony?" I joked, "We're practically an old married couple already. What's the point? Let's just muddle through life. It's not like we're getting divorced." Unhappy with my teasing, she pushed me away, adjusted the collar of her nightgown, and scolded me for wanting to skip out after taking advantage. She accused me of being irresponsible before heading to the bathroom for a shower. Lying on the bed, I chuckled to myself. I had already planned everything, a proposal and a wedding. Feeling thirsty, I got up for a glass of water and, on a whim, opened the drawer of the nightstand. Inside was a leather-bound diary. Instinctively, I felt it contained something about me. Flipping it open, I began to read. March 2015, I've learned how to cook. I'm going to be a qualified caretaker for this lazy pig. When we meet again, I'll surprise you. August 2016, Sincere got into college. His stats are way better than yours. If you were still here, you'd probably have to repeat the year. You call yourself a science genius? I don't believe it. October 2017, it seems like there's a girl getting close to Sincere. You didn't tell me if he's dating anyone. Not that it matters. If he's supposed to like me, he wouldn't be interested in anyone else. So, I broke them up. No regrets. May 2019, I met Ethan today. He's exactly like you described. I almost tripped and fell into his arms, but I managed to recover with a quick reflex. Still, I don't like him at all. Your script is way off. January 2020, I returned to the sanatorium to prepare for Grandpa's funeral. Those annoying kids from back then have all grown up. But where are you? I'm starting to forget the past. I don't know how much longer I can hold on. This part was crossed out. Underneath it read, "I can hold on for a long time, but you'd better show up soon." The entries continued. September 2020, I had Dad sign Ethan to the company. Today, I visited the set. You said in the story this was where I'd meet Sincere for the first time. I even made a lunchbox with love. Spent over an hour preparing it. Then I remembered the person I was meeting wasn't you. Never mind, I ate it myself. Sincere can have instant noodles. November 2022, Sincere and I got married. I've followed every step of the script you gave me, but you still haven't shown up. Will you ever appear? September 2024, I'm going on a reality show. If you don't come by this time, does that mean you never will? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't bother with such a boring show. So you'd better show up immediately. The entries ended there. Is that you? I no longer dare to hope. Is it really you? The diary ended with these words. It was only then that I realized my face was streaked with tears. Hastily, I wiped them away, closed the diary, and put it back where I found it. "Victoria," I called out as I ran to the bathroom door and knocked. Pulling a small ring box from my pocket, I said, "Open the door for a second. I have something for you." Before I could finish my sentence, the bathroom door creaked open just slightly, revealing half of Victoria's face. She frowned and asked, "I'm in the shower. What do you want?" "Oh, I see," I said thoughtfully, nodding with understanding. "Maybe you can't hear me clearly. Let me come in and explain."